We'll take it from here.
Who the hell are you?
INS Division 6.
There is no Division 6.
Is to monitor extraterrestrial activity on Earth.
Is Men in Black 5 actually going to happen, and when might we see it? The franchise is all about this undercover government agency protecting Earth from aliens with a fun sci-fi twist on the classic buddy cop formula. It's a setup that's perfect for endless sequels featuring new alien villains. That said, there have been some bumps in the road. It's been a few years since the last main movie, and one of the franchise's biggest stars, Will Smith, has been caught up in some controversies recently, which might complicate things. Still, there's plenty of potential for the series to make a comeback if everything lines up right. The last movie, Men in Black International, didn't exactly wow the critics or crush it at the box office, raking in just over $253 million worldwide. Thanks for the stats, Box Office Mojo. While that's not chump change, it's not great for a big-budget franchise flick. Still, the Men in Black brand is pretty valuable, so a fifth movie feels almost inevitable. But is it actually happening, and when could we see it? Some latest news we got Men in Black 5 is reportedly in development over at Sony, according to Giant Freakin' Robot. That said, the studio hasn't officially announced anything yet. But let's face it, Sony isn't shy about doubling down on franchises. Just look at what they're doing with Ghostbusters Frozen Empire and their Marvel movies. Word on the street is that Men in Black 5 might bring Will Smith back, marking his first return to the franchise in a decade. Reliable sources hint that Columbia Pictures is thinking about rebooting the series after it's been sitting on the sidelines for a while. Bringing back Will Smith seems like a strategic move to steer the ship back on course after the lukewarm response to the last film. Plus, it could signal that Hollywood is ready to give Will a fresh start, with studios betting on his comeback. If Smith does return, he'd be stepping back into his iconic role as Agent J, a character he first played in the original Men in Black way back in 1997 alongside Tommy Lee Jones. His last outing was in Men in Black 3 in 2012, where time travel shenanigans brought Josh Brolin into the mix as a younger Agent K. The Men in Black series, along with Bad Boys, has been one of Smith's biggest career highlights, so it's no surprise that both he and Sony would want to bring the franchise back to life. That said, Men in Black 5 will have to deal with the fallout from Will Smith's infamous slap of comedian Chris Rock at the 94th Academy Awards. After that incident, his once stellar public image took a serious hit, leading to canceled projects and even his expulsion from the Academy. It's a tough spot for any celebrity to bounce back from, but given Will's immense popularity across various demographics, he might just pull it off. The fact that Men in Black 5 might feature Will Smith again suggests he's starting to regain his footing in Hollywood. It's pretty telling that he's even considering jumping back into a franchise he seemingly moved on from. It feels like a smart move to go for something familiar and safe. Given the loyal fan base for the Men in Black series, this could be a win-win for both Will and the studio. On top of that, Will's new film Emancipation is already being talked about as a potential contender for the Academy Awards. Directed by Antoine Fuqua, the guy behind Training Day, the film tells the true story of a runaway slave who fought in the Civil War, and it stars Will as the lead character Gordon. If there's a chance he could snag some award nominations shortly after the scandal, it really sets the stage for Men in Black 5 to come together. But then there's the big question, would Tommy Lee Jones also return to co-star alongside Will? Their chemistry is a huge part of what made the franchise so beloved, and it's one of the reasons Men in Black 3 and Men in Black International didn't quite hit the mark. It'll be interesting to see if they can persuade Tommy to come back to the series. Fingers crossed that all the pieces fall into place. That said, back in 2014, when Sony got hacked, some interesting plans came to light about a crossover between the Men in Black and 21 Jump Street franchises. Imagine Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum's undercover cops teaming up with the MIB to stop an alien invasion. Rodney Rothman, who co-wrote 22 Jump Street, was working on the script, but it never took off. With Hill and Tatum busy with other projects, coordinating schedules with the A-list stars from Men in Black was probably a bit of a nightmare. So why was 21 Jump Street Men in Black crossover script never filmed? Well, even though both franchises have their own charm, they were pretty much polar opposites in terms of tone, which made it tough to mash them together. Men in Black expertly balanced humor with the classic sci-fi tension, while 21 Jump Street leaned heavily on crude and light-hearted comedy, making it hard to find common ground. This mismatch in dynamics ultimately led to the crossover being shelved indefinitely. Phil Lord and Chris Miller were initially set to write the script for this crossover, which had fans buzzing. However, Sony decided to go in a different direction and released Men in Black International instead of MIB-23. Honestly, I think that was a smart move at the time. It allowed the Men in Black universe to develop further without compromising its stakes. Plus, it kept 21 Jump Street from becoming a self-parody, avoiding the risk of turning into the very thing it often mocked. Still, I can't help but wonder what MIB-23 would have been like. Would the absurd premise have worked on the big screen? It's one of those what-if scenarios that leaves fans curious about the missed potential of a wacky crossover. Originally, MIB-23 was set to be directed by James Bobin, known for The Muppets. In this version, Janko and Schmidt would drop their undercover personas and become the newest recruits of the secretive government agency. The script aimed to capture the iconic, stern, yet ironic tone of Men in Black, while putting Hill and Tatum's characters front and center in a globe-trotting adventure filled with extraterrestrial twists. However, it seems Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones wouldn't be returning for this comedic crossover. It seems like the Men in Black franchise isn't entirely out of the game yet. There's growing chatter that the studio might be rethinking their approach, possibly bringing back Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, the original stars who gave the series its iconic charm. However, with Jones being well into his late 70s, it's uncertain how much action he'd be up for. And here's the kicker. Rumor has it another big name might be joining the mix, a rising star who's quickly becoming Hollywood's it girl. Before we dive in, let's clarify that this is just a rumor. It popped up on Twitter recently, and no official sources have backed it up yet. So treat this as speculative fun rather than a done deal. That said, the idea is definitely worth discussing. The rumor? Sydney Sweeney might join the Men in Black universe. If you've been following Sweeney's career, you know she's been absolutely everywhere lately. She's fresh off the success of the romantic comedy Anyone But You and the chilling horror film Immaculate. On top of that, she's set to star as legendary boxer Christy Martin in an upcoming biopic produced by Black Bear. Her schedule is clearly packed, but if the rumor holds water, she might just make time to suit up for Sony's iconic franchise. This wouldn't be Sweeney's first rodeo with Sony either. She's already teamed up with them for Madam Web, one of the studio's high-profile entries in their Marvel lineup. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.